Guys, welcome to EVTOL Fan Club. My name is Liam. I am one of the Hustle Brothers here. I'm here with, well, related by blood. My brother Reece here. We have the biggest Archibald himself. We have Dylan. And then we have private pilot and aerospace engineer, Mark. How are we getting on, guys?
Dylan, you first.
Oh, me first.
Reece, you
so
first.
far, so
Sorry,
good.
Reece.
No, it's been a nice day, nice weekend. Woke up, studied some eVTOLs, and the rest of it's been with the family. So yeah, happy to be with you guys and the whole community. So yeah, day's good.
Reece, how are we getting on?
Yeah, doing well. Weather's been decent over here. It looks like the weather's decent over where you are as well, Mark. I like the new background.
That's just a background, but it is pretty much what it looks out my window right now. It's very hot. It's almost 97 degrees and humid. So yesterday I was able to get up into the mountains and did some paddleboarding on this gorgeous mountain lake in western North Carolina. It's just absolutely gorgeous.
Reece, we were talking about the actual lawsuit last week. You did drop a really nice video explaining the lawsuit. I think we'll more or less start with that. You don't think it's something that we should be absolutely throwing our shares away, is it?
I don't think that it's going to be a showstopper. I think it's obviously it's one of those things where this is the second lawsuit that's come against them, and both of them have very similar claims in terms of they've oversold where they were in terms of the certification progress. They've also oversold the range that they can achieve and the speed they can achieve. They've basically sold a dream. And I think it's something that we've probably all said on here. And we're kind of aware is something that was the plan that they could do internally. But I think the problem is with one of these mergers that because they haven't got a track record at that time of sales or the actual equipment, you basically are sort of selling a idea or you're basically trying to sell the company. And I don't think there's any company out there that would be undervaluing it. Now they probably have went the other end of the scale where they've overvalued it and tried to get as much bang for their buck. But as I said before, I think it's a bit worrying that this is the second lawsuit, but I can't see it being a showstopper. And I think the price at the moment is reflecting that. What about you? You had a chance maybe to look into any of it, or?
Oh, did you throw that one to me, Reece?
Yeah. Have you had a chance to have it?
I'll tell you what, and if anybody, either Hustle Brothers or the community has any info, I've really been trying to find the actual legal document that is getting kind of pushed forward. So what are the actual claims as opposed to us kind of knowing, or at least for me right now, knowing the broader scope of what the lawsuit is going to be for. So maybe nailing down, is it an aerodynamic aspect of it? Was it a timeliness? Like you said, maybe time to cert and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So for me, I'd like the legal document. I'm not sure if that's a FOIA request, so I might actually write that down to go ahead and FOIA that thing if possible. But in general, would like to see the actual legal document come out so I could get the verbiage on that. And one thing I was thinking in kind of a two-parter as well is, when Archer was created and it was on the NYSE and IPO'd, they still had Brett Adcock in the fold right there. And it was really, and anybody can correct me, but it was that maker model that they were producing and looking to take to market. So, I mean, if I'm looking at through the eyes of an investor back in 2020 or so, and if I was sold the dream that maker would be the product, and I'll also kind of add this in just because I've been going inversely through the Joby SEC file. So I really need to start back at the bottom with Archer as well, or back at the beginning, because what's been interesting is in the filing forms, you get a lot of drawings, be it of the wing, of what the design of the aircraft's going to be, a lot of the forward-looking statements. So it's not to compare Joby or to say Joby as a SPAC should be involved in this sort of lawsuit as well. But only it's interesting to go back to those early filing forms and see what the company is putting forward. And I think saying that kind of in your lane, Reece, where you have an idea, you have some drawings, but you don't have that physical product that you can really display to somebody at that time. So yeah, in a sense, you're selling the AAM market as that pipeline dream. But yeah, I would love to learn more on where they felt they were kind of rug pulled on any of the timelines as well. So yeah, just a few thoughts. Yeah. How about you guys?
Just throwing this one out then to Mark, is this something that happens quite a lot in the aerospace market in terms of if there is a SPAC merger, that companies try and value it as high as possible so that they're getting the most amount of funding and investment in through the door?
Yeah, so this is new. The whole birth of eVTOLs and getting started through a SPAC. It's kind of new. Back in the early 2000s, you didn't have this with, say, the very light jet market that was trying to grow itself. And that entire movement kind of died on the vine. You basically got a few aircraft out of that. But the way they generated capital was different back then. So this is all a bit new. My opinion on these lawsuits is I think they're nothing burgers. Any investor that is going to invest in this space needs to go in with a 5 to 10 year horizon, timeline. And I think it will accelerate as the eVTOL market really starts to get into the public view and the public starts to see everything. You may see development increase, but traditionally, if an aerospace company is going to come out and say, "Hey, we are going to develop and certify an airplane," it typically takes 5 years to do it. 5 years with a very well-established company. For example, you look at Gulfstream when they came out in 2007, 2008, and they said, "Hey, we're coming out with a new flagship, the 650." It didn't get certified. That was 2007, and they didn't certify until 2012. I believe it was 2011, 2012, and then they went on and then Gulfstream completely redeveloped their entire line. There's the 650, the G400, 500, and 600. You got the 800 and 700 now. They have an entirely new product line, but each one of those product lines, and most of them is a derivative of the other, just different sizes. Anytime you would develop any one of those, it would take a couple of years. So, and they were developing a couple of them in coordination. The 5 and 6 basically got developed in coordination. So, as an investor, I think Archer can go into any legal proceedings, or their lawyers can walk in and say, "Listen, go look at any aircraft development throughout history, and it takes time, it takes risks. Look at where we're actually at. We're in this race, and we are actually approaching the finish line. If we're not already in TC, we're approaching into type certification or TC testing." I think that it's going to be a nothing burger for them. If anything, it's people trying to poach just some money out of the company, and they'll probably just settle and be like, "Okay, whatever, just go away." So I kind of equated it. It's funny. Like when you're building something, there's always going to be some sort of a hurdle or a headwind. And I kind of equate it nowadays to, hey, you're going to go on some beautiful hike, and you're going to get to the top of the mountain and enjoy the view, but along the way, there's going to be mosquitoes. And, you may get a couple of bug bites along the way, but at the end of the day, we're still going to get there.
Yeah, well, 100%.
I like that.
No, thank you so much for that. And then I'm going to jump straight across to the chat. So we have Vaccine C. Ahoy, y'all. Big shout out, Vaccine C, here every day.
Yeah, my guy.
I don't think the lawsuit has merits, but I do think they are tapping into some legitimate sentiment. I'll hold by of higher conviction plays that claimed some of that capital. Then, Mark, do you think they, and I think we're referring to Archer, made some early design decisions with the rear rotor that's slowing down their advancement?
I don't know. I have my suspicions if their rear rotor is going to get them through certification or not, and if it can meet their design parameters that they're aiming for. So I don't know if I suspect that it's probably if it is an issue, they will still proceed with that design. They may go with a 4 rotor as opposed to a 4 blade as opposed to a 2. And they would get through type certification with that. And then maybe a few years down the road, they would immediately do an STC, or they would just come out, they would do a different cert program, and it would be a bit of a different design. But I mean, a lot of these eVTOLs have that configuration, so it's not like it's unheard of having, you know, a boom rotor configuration with a one in the front, one in the rear, and the one in the rear just stays vertical. So we'll see. I personally don't like it, but they could still get through type certification with it and still be successful.
And then Miri says, great to see Mark on again. Mark is part of the team now. Absolutely love him. Fan favorite. Then, guys, if you want to ask any question whatsoever, do jump into the comments. I had to explain something to the Rocket Lab stream yesterday because I was getting quite a few DMs. Reason we put it into subscriber only mode is because we don't want bots or trolls coming in. I dealt with that an awful lot after my appearance on Rocket Lab Weekly, so we've done it into subscriber only mode. Subscription does not mean you pay. I think that was the misconception. When you bang the subscribe button, it's completely free. It just gives us access to see you're a real person. But I want to share something on the screen here, guys. Right, so I put this up. It was about 2 weeks ago. So when innovation meets inspiration, onboarding with the LA 28 team as we gear up for the Olympics and Paralympic Games. How bullish are you on Archer entering the Olympics? And also, a second question to that. Do you honestly believe Joby will make an appearance at the Olympics too? Dylan, do you want to go first?
Sure. So yeah, I think, again, in my eyes, the Olympics is a committee upon themselves. So when you're having the Archer team continue to be brought into an Olympic facility, Olympic boardroom, Olympic conversations, really with those people at the table, not just Archer kind of PRing that they're, you know, kind of rerunning the Fallon episode and just showing the Olympic interest that way. It still does bring me the confidence that they have a plan to make it to and by the 2028 Olympics. And again, as I kind of try to peel through the layers over who would get involved with a certain company or why they would stay away, again, I still want to go through and read what the exclusive rights can be, meaning what could have those actually pulled, and kind of have NBC, because really it's an NBC. You know, you can say it's branded by the Olympics, but really at the end of the day, it's going to be a really NBC televised broadcast. So you have NBC really involved in this as well. And I think if you then go to the Joby side, I think it's going to, I'd have to answer it in the way of FAA approval and infrastructure, and see how that has come about. So if I'm going off Adam's words of 2028 being a showcase, again, I have to kind of figure out how many aircraft, how many Midnight they would be able to actually showcase at the Olympics, although they do say that they're going to be serving the athletes, some VIPs, and some civilians as well. So with that hopeful dream in mind, I would definitely see that there would have to be the infrastructure built up. And it would be a perfect time to also have Joby come in on a commercial side. And even if they weren't solely sponsored by the Olympics or carrying the athletes, could be a great vehicle for the commercial passenger to be able to take in and out of LA if they are going to see the games as well.
Mark, how are you feeling about it?
So my opinion is if either one of them doesn't make it, specifically Archer, if Archer is not delivering athletes and dignitaries to the Olympics in their aircraft, it's a failure. I think they still have plenty of time to get certified, even if they had any difficulties in certification. They could still get it's what's known as a limited TC. So again, a limited TC would be like, okay, you're not FICI certified, so you can't fly in icing. Well, there's not going to be much icing in California. So there's certain things that they could get buy-offs on to still do revenue generating flights. The fact that Archer is sponsored, I don't know if that's then just going to be I can't see how Joby could not be a part of it, simply because if Joby has a 135 charter, it's not like the FAA is going to say, oh, you can't fly in this airspace. This airspace is, like when there's an air show, you can't limit people to fly into the air show to showcase their, like Oshkosh or something like that, right?
Great
People
point.
can't. Now, potentially, if there's going to be a vertiport right in the Olympic Village, and potentially that vertiport is only for archers, you may see that. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Archer is going to try to have a bit of a moat around that event. But we have the World Cup next year. And I think you're going to see these aircraft being showcased at the World Cup. They will. If I were worth any of these companies, or either Jobin or Adam, I would be like, we will be flying into the World Cup. It may not be with passengers on it, but we will be showcasing our capabilities at the World Cup, which is only going to basically be the softball that's going to get thrown up into the air to get knocked out of the park the next year at the Olympics. So I'm confident they'll both be there, and their stock prices I think are going to be much higher at that point too.
The only thing I need to dive into and sort of like get my head around it a little bit is the Vertiport infrastructure. In Adam's recent interview, he said there'll be high-end vertiports like the one at SoFi Stadium. But then he also mentioned you could be dropped at the likes of bus stops. And what does confuse me a little bit is if you're going to sell this as a premium service, are you going to be wanting to get dropped at the likes of bus stops? Or is it just for convenience? They'll supply these. Have you any thoughts on that, guys?
I guess initial thought would be, and maybe this goes back, excuse me, to like a question we've kind of had around the eVTOL commercial services. Again, to save time, you're going to have to be able to get to this eVTOL quicker than it's going to be to take you to the airport in general. Excuse me. So, although at first hearing of it, maybe the bus stop hub doesn't scream elegance or VIP. But if I'm just talking off the top of my head, we are about 3 years away. And just in saying what the bus stop could be, maybe that's more of something as they are continuing to redesign LA, either going into the Olympics or through the wildfires that happen. Maybe you have these one-off, just random example, how you have, like around us, you have bus stops, which will take you to other bus stops, or they're going to take you to the metro transit stations, which can take you all through DC, Northern Virginia, and all that. So what if out of 1 out of every 10 bus stops, and it's just random, but that was your vertiport stop. And then, if you had to hike a little bit to and fro between the 5 stops that you may have missed, maybe right now that's just the unfortunate part of how many aircraft we would have in the air and the vertiports built to drop them off. But yeah, just some initial top of head thoughts.
Yeah, my opinion on it is, if I'm a city planner
Mm.
and this capability is coming online, I'd be, for example, I lived in Manassas for a short period of time. It's on the far south end of DC. It takes a good hour to get into DC from Manassas. If I were a city planner, I'd be like, I want 2 vertiports in Manassas with parking lots, so people can quickly get in and out of the DC area. So I would be, whether it's a bus stop or it's just a dedicated vertiport. I think what you'll see is a vertiport, and then they're going to add a bus stop to it.
I like that.
Like it's going to be this is the new mode of transportation. So you're actually going to see things coming to the vertiports as opposed to the vertiports going to where the existing infrastructure is at. But I think city planners are going to start designing cities around these capabilities.
And then, Reece, how do you feel about it?
I'm quite interested to see about the cost to get these vertiports, because I imagine if they'd been charging the eVTOLs, I imagine you're going to need a serious amount of power in order to charge it, or the hangar that's going to have to be available. And I don't know if it's just 1 or 2 that you need that would have that charging capabilities, and then the rest could just be helipads and bus stops, let's say, for speak, or does every single one need to have charging capabilities? Because at the moment they're not hybrid as well. So is that limitation?
Yeah, but if you think about charging with that in that construct, let's say, okay, you've got a hospital. Obviously, a hospital has an enormous amount of power going into that hospital already. They have the circuits or the services going to that facility. So now you just need to run that service up to the helipad. It's going to just be a contract with an electrical contracting company to get the service up there. I mean, it's not going to be a 110 or a 240. It'll probably be like 3-phase, 440 power. But we have that everywhere in this country. That infrastructure is already there. Any place you're going to have, and especially if you have rail, and the rail is electric, you have enormous amounts of power already coming into that location. And you would just have to step off, or have a branch off to it to the vertiport.
So
you wouldn't think that would cost too much then? That would be quite an easy just reroute and basically.
I think it's part of I think it would be cheaper than the concrete that you're going to have to pay for the pad.
And maybe, Mark, quick question for you. As we advance with the battery tech, so again, this is just out of left field, so it's my random question, hopefully for the day. But with the advancements in battery tech, so let's say we get 2-3 years down the line, the ion cell batteries or the silicon cell batteries start to advance as well, and those are going to be now adapted into the eVTOLs. As we are going through the cert process, and hopefully I'm answering the questions I asked you, but as we go through the certing of the eVTOL process, what changes are going to have to be made as they switch out those battery packs and maybe give it the more
It's a fantastic question. So any battery that's going to go on a certified aircraft that has type certification also needs to be type certified. So it has to go through a predefined certification testing regimen. So whatever batteries that they are currently putting on an Archer or a Joby, those batteries, most likely their supplier takes on that effort of certifying and working with the FAA or whatever authority to certify those batteries. And then those batteries are very specific to that airplane. You can't go and you can't change out a different battery pack. You can change out the same type of battery pack, but not a different type of battery. But that doesn't mean that if new battery technology comes along, you can immediately recertify that battery. And then you would do, again, a supplemental type certificate, an STC, and then you would just swap out the batteries into the aircraft. So, and we will see that. We will see as this technology, because battery technology is going like is advancing like crazy. That you will see that where they're going to certify right now with what's going to be the probably like a 2023 or 2022 generation type battery. I would guarantee that those batteries now that they're certifying with are probably already obsolete. And they're just saying, okay, there is better technology out there, but we can't continually be changing our cert plans and our certification. We just need to get to market with the product we have. And then maybe in like 2027, they'll do another cert program, which implements in a newer battery, which is then only going to usher in longer range and more capability. So an Archer will go from, maybe 50 miles to 150 miles, or you will see as battery technology improves. So,
yeah, go on.
I mean, it's fascinating. Battery technology is really fascinating. I mean, right now, you have everything is, they're chemical batteries, and that is a big concern. Is like with lithium ions, you have if they run away, it's a big problem. It's a huge fire, and if you've watched some of Joby's videos about their manufacturing facility, the guy really hones in, that's doing the interview, on the batteries, and those batteries are encased in a titanium sarcophagus, and once the batteries go into that titanium box, they weld the box shut, and if those batteries were to light off, it would be contained in that space, and that's what they're certifying to. But I mean, I watched some stuff, and this is out in the future, but it's still happening in laboratories with nanotechnology, on how they're trying to get away from chemical batteries and making it more like a capacitor, where it would be an electrostatic discharge as opposed to a chemical discharge. And if they could start getting to more of an electrostatic type battery, then your charging time goes down to next to nothing. Capacitors are extremely lightweight. Like the weight compared to a battery it's like 1/10 of a battery. And the beauty of a capacitor is you can discharge them extremely quick. You can get an enormous amount of power out of a capacitor, but they just don't have much energy density. So, a capacitor only lasts for a few seconds and it bleeds off. But there's been some white paper reports with nanotechnology on how they can really get a lot more electrons packed into these electrostatic like type capacitor batteries. And that's just an example of, let's say in 3030, they say, well, we've got this new battery and it's 1/10 the weight, and it's actually electrostatic compared to a chemical reaction. And now, it's just going to be an added capability. And that's what's beautiful about this space. We've already passed the Rubicon of battery technology to where these current aircraft are viable, and there's use cases for them. As the batteries get better, or the power supplies get better, they are only going to increase in use case.
And then say, like, I'm going back to the infrastructure, the charging infrastructure, but bringing it to traditional aviation, I know it may be different for a private hangar, but any, say, public-based hangar, is there a law to say that they have to have fuel storage at the hangar, or is that just up to the pilot?
It's up to the pilot.
So then, going on that, if we go back to the bus stop concept, as long as the bus, well, we're calling it bus stop, as long as the vertiport is not halfway across the city and you're draining your battery to complete exhaustion, technically you wouldn't have to have a charging station there. Hopefully you'll be able to land, pick up, and away you go back to wherever your charging station is.
Yeah. I suspect all vertiports will have charging capabilities. But again, you're talking about, like, you build a house, the house has electricity in it. You're going to build a vertiport, it's just going to have an electrical outlet in it. It's not
Yeah.
You know, it's not that difficult to do. You're just going to size up the gauge of the wiring and the interface to charge these.
Well, you
The
have
only
the
thing
thing
that's been
oh,
a
no, go
problem
for it,
with
Reece.
the length of time charging it, because how many are you going to need in the hangar to swap around?
It
That,
depends
like,
how quick you pedal. You know, you'll be outside pedaling on the bike, and
That's all right,
It
Reece.
does.
We got to get you on the bike. Quick.
Yeah. If it's in France and it's during the Tour de France, you're going to have
Yeah.
a lot of cyclists, you know, to
We like
generate the
that.
power.
That's right.
So, well, I know that Joby is designed where they have 2 connections under each wing. So you will be able to plug 2 docking stations into the wing simultaneously. I believe Joby has 6 battery packs. And so you'll charge 3 battery packs and 3 battery packs at the same time.
Yeah.
And what's also interesting about it, I don't know if you watch, I'll find the video where you walk through their factory and they're talking about the connector that they have. It actually has coolant in it as well. And I suspect that their batteries have a liquid coolant system that run through them so they don't overheat. And part of the charging function will be you're going to be able to put so much energy into these batteries that if you didn't have and there will be coolant running through that docking station as well, running some sort of a coolant to keep the batteries cold as you start dumping all this energy in them to recharge them, because batteries will heat up if you charge them, if you dump too much amperage into them at once. Well, if you can cool it, then they may be able to say, all right, give me all the juice you can. And that's how they're going to get to the whole, they say they basically want it to, the second the aircraft lands, you've got 2 flight crew, they walk up, 2 people walk up, hook up the charger. And by the time people are getting out, getting their bags, leaving, the new people are coming in, they're getting a very quick brief, new flight plans being formed, and then it's like, okay, you're off to the races again. They disconnect and the thing takes off. The next one comes in, which is scalable.
That's it. That's what I was thinking. That was the only query I had.
And then Carlos LP says, I have faith that things will catch up soon. Phil, welcome, Phil. You seem to always be here too. Big shout out to you, my guy. Before the Olympics came to Atlanta, which I attended, it was said on the radio by someone from LA, don't worry about the traffic. It will be some of the lightest traffic. He was right. I still believe traffic may be quite high, though. I don't know if they'll be in there in a mega way, will they?
Well, maybe it all depends on where you're commuting in from as well. Because again, they're probably going to build out the Olympic Village, and such, where they're going to have the different arenas that are doing different. Well, sorry, I just lost my AirPod. But yeah, so as they build that out, maybe it's going to be a little something of, if it is doing the dignitaries and VIPs from like the Olympic Village to say SoFi Stadium, or where they do the Rose Bowl, where USC plays. Sorry, I can't think of the.
Pasadena.
Thank you. Yeah. So if they hold any event there as well, that could be another possible spot where they have a vertiport input as well, and that's So hopefully that would help. And I guess anything you can do to lighten the traffic, be it either taking the VIPs and the dignitaries off the roads, where they may require more of a police escort as well. Could maybe lighten up some of the traffic for any normal civilian just looking to come see one game. But top of the head thought.
Mm-hmm.
And then VCNC says, do you think Section 6 of the Drone Dominance Executive Order will allow for Archer to catch up in some ways by having a more streamlined certification path than Joby had to deal with to get here in the section on the eVTOLs? Mark, you're probably best placed to answer that.
They are both so far along in their cert program that any changes now would probably not. It would actually set them back. So they already have all of their cert plans submitted, all of their test plans submitted, and they're going through testing. Joby and Archer are pretty much kind of following the traditional path. Of course, there was a new there were some changes made to so that these eVTOLs can be certified. But I don't see potentially, like maybe for hover, they could use some of the new rules. But yeah, I think both Joby and Archer are so far along in their cert program that and they've already have everything is kind of working in concert with the FAA to get certification. So again, go ahead.
Oh no, Mark, finish your thought, please.
Yeah, we don't know. Obviously, that is one of the big questions about all of us on the channel, and in this forum is, okay, where are they at with certification? Where are they at with certification? It's the big question that we're really kind of hoping we'll get some light shed on when we get into this next quarterly. But they will. But yeah, they're so far along that there's. I think they're both pretty close in terms of cert efforts.
Well, the only thing I was going to bring up, maybe just on a side to that, just digging through articles and this and that, I found something. I don't know if Mark, if you'd ever seen this cross your table, just in your field of work and stuff, but it was from the Office of the Inspector General. And it was with the U.S. Department of Transportation. And so it was a report that came out on June 21st of 2023. And it basically was speaking to the FAA and the regulatory gaps and lack of conscientious hindered FAA progress in certifying advanced air mobility aircraft, and challenges remain. So it's about a 36-page document. So being honest, I haven't read through it all. But it was interesting, at least, to find that there was a group that went ahead and went to the DOT and really poked holes in some of the what's the word I'm searching for the just the regulatory gaps in general, and really poking holes in that. So I thought that was just interesting to come upon. And then just kind of being more involved in this space over the past year. Now, my wife was working, and her main clients were the Department of Transportation. Now, this was back about 2019, 2020, for the company she was working with. At that time, I believe it was Buttigieg that was in place at the time. So, again, I don't want to say anything on him because I wasn't watching the space as much, but even really, the only thing I'm really trying to say is it just seems like Duffy is out there showing up to the air shows, kind of really promoting the forward-looking, the way he's forward-looking in the aviation space. So yeah, just thought that was a cool document to kind of find, and I'll keep poking in it, even though it's about a year old. And yeah, have enjoyed seeing Duffy continue to get out to the air shows and really promote the advancements in the air mobilities. Yeah.
So what I think is, like, you take that document. That document is a year or 2 years old, right? I think the executive order that Trump issued was probably the kick in the ass because of that document. Right. It was like, hey, well, let's fill these gaps. Let's get this. Let's get as efficient as possible in certification. That's why MOSAIC came out. Now again, like with MOSAIC just coming out, that again doesn't necessarily apply to Joby and Archer right now because they are already so far along in their cert program. What that does apply to is Joby could say, hey, we want to do a personal flying craft now. Like, and Toyota could be licking their chops to be like, hey, we want everyone to have their own flying craft, where a neighborhood now has its own vertiport in the neighborhood. And you have your own flying craft that is designed to sit outside just like a car. And it's 4-person, and you can go and get training to learn how to fly in the light sport. So this is what's interesting. Anything in light sport, anything LSA is for recreational purposes. Those aircraft can't be used for commercial purposes. So you can't go do a 135 charter with a light sport aircraft. So there is some delineation there. But what it does mean, especially with MOSAIC, at least the way I read it, is it opens the door up for companies like Cessna or any of these other companies to say, hey, we can now start developing a new form of personal aviation craft that people can use for personal use.
Oh, do you know if that happens, yeah? Mark,
It'd be-
you have to purchase one. We'll just do a what's his name? A whip round around the Hustle Brother community.
Love
Get
it.
Mark on
Love
a
it.
thing and just fly you round in your own personal.
Guys, I think, hey, I'm going to forecast it. I think the four of us in a year from now are going to be in Dubai, and we're all just going to get on our iPhone. We're going to get a flight, and we're going to do a live podcast from inside of Joby, just like the guy on who was in Austin and did the live streams when Robotaxi came out. We're going to do it. We're going to do it with a Joby, the four of us.
I love
That
that.
would be wild.
That's right.
I love your
Imagine that.
manifestation.
It's gonna
I
be
love
great.
that. Yeah, let's
make
keep
it
that
happen.
energy going. Let's make it.
Yeah.
I love that, Mark.
Then we have Byron says, as an investor, I wanted to buy shares in either Joby or Archer. I eventually chose Joby as they had a larger market cap and had Toyota in their corner. Are Joby using solid state batteries?
I don't know.
I've done a deep dive on batteries, but if I can remember.
Yeah,
And-
batteries is something that I know that's where you put the power or where you store the energy. But there is so much in the battery space that I'm certainly a novice.
Well, maybe if I could just pop in real quick on that, and curious, and I'm really open to some Joby chat hate right here, because again, I may be the Archer bull, but still, it's progress with both companies I cheer on. But I'm just curious from the Joby fans and the shareholders there, how do they feel with Toyota so involved with Joby? They hold over about a 20%, if not a little over 20% ownership stake in the company. Which means you're having, I forgot the gentleman's name, I can pull it up, but you have one or two Toyota members who are sitting on the Joby's board and kind of able to have some voting power and maybe some decisions there versus what it seems like Archer is still holding the 50.1 stake in their company. So I was just curious, as kind of Joby continues to develop, just Toyota at those at the chair, kind of in the big round tables, just if that brought more investor confidence to the Joby members, or if they kind of like Joe Ben and the Joby team to take over more control, more voting power as we continue to proceed.
Chat, please jump in and answer Dylan's question there.
Yeah, I just did a real quick Grok search, and it says that Joby Aviation uses lithium-ion batteries with an 811 NMC nickel, magnesium, cobalt oxide cathode, and a graphite anode. So lithium-ion batteries, basically.
Then Phil Zale says, "No, I don't know what you're saying. No about, my guy." CNC says, was it a Sandy Monroe video? Sandy Monroe did do a good tour around Joby's facility.
Yeah, if it's the older gentleman.
Yeah, with the old tash and that.
Yeah. He swore a couple times and then caught himself.
Yeah.
You can tell he's from the old school. I think he's from Detroit, or he's from because he referenced Michigan a few times, like having a Joby or a Vertiport at the Detroit airport, which is outside of the city a good 30 minutes, and how cool it would be cool to have a Joby to get in and whatnot. But yeah, it was excellent tour. It would be cool to get him on and get his perspective.
Get Sandy on.
Let's see if we can, let's get Sandy in here. Let's make Sandy a hustle brother.
That's a great point.
So,
I actually reached out to Travis Brooks. He was gonna come on. He was actually disappointed he couldn't come on. He had family commitments this week, but he's open to coming on ASAP.
Yeah.
So guys, you want to see Let's Talk Joby on the chat with us, please let us know in the comments. Phil says it was almost that's what you're referring to. It's almost a ghost town in Atlanta. I drove it more than once. Jester Silva says, I will only sell my Joby position once it can buy me a personal eVTOL.
Nice, like it.
Nice. Like,
That could be comment of the day.
That has to be comment of the day so far, anyway.
Yeah,
An eVTOL biker gang. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
they make a new Wild Hogs movie.
Chris, what's up, my guys? How are we getting on?
How's it
Chris
going,
will be
Chris?
live
hey.
in about, I don't know, an hour, half an hour or so. Glad to see you guys. Almost missed the stream. No bother. No, we've tried to set down a timetable now. So going forward, I think it's Thursdays at 4:30 and Sundays at 4:30 Eastern time. Is that okay for you guys?
Yep.
We will be here. We adjust the
then-
schedules to make it work.
Phil says Joby uses lithium batteries. Toyota brings more Joby confidence.
Okay.
More confident with Toyota too.
Nice.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
I don't know about Stellantis. That's the only thing that worries me with Archer is that Stellantis partnership.
Mm-hmm. Is there now? There's a lot. There's already,
Guys,
from what I know, there's go for it.
I got to drive back to Georgia tomorrow. I may just have. Well, it's gonna be late at night. I've got to just go check out Covington.
Yeah, 100%.
Next, I'll tell you what. Let's do this. And I'm coming back to North Carolina next weekend, and I'm most likely flying back to Georgia. I'll schedule it to fly into Covington and get some live shots of the plant. See how much I can get around. If I get arrested, fine.
We'll come and bail you out.
You got my number.
Yeah.
We'll fill off a
bail
for
you
Joby
out.
and bail you out.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, geez, yeah. So no, but I'm gonna go get some eyes on the ground of just what's going on in Covington, because it's the Archer plant, but if they're teaming with Stellantis has to be involved. So we'll go get some intel here in the next week on what's going on there.
Yeah, and
Sorry,
I've racked
Jesus,
my
right.
brain.
I just seen the time. I'm going to have to jump out. But
Okay.
I'll catch you in the weekly, and thanks everyone for coming.
All right,
no
Reece.
doubt.
Catch you guys
Have
in
a great
bit.
evening.
Have a great
Yeah.
one, bro. But yeah, no, it did have me thinking. So what I've been able to uncover with Stellantis is that there does seem to be some Stellantis employees that are working on the manufacturing floors, probably more out in California for Archer. But there's been a lot of equity talk, and there was still that AK out there. So I'm still kind of wondering what's going to happen, because they did vote those shares through. But I was really kind of just wondering, and don't know if anybody in the chat has a thought of, if the Stellantis partnership was to fall through, like who would be the next best manufacturing partner, and could you pull that together in time, to still meet the demand in the schedule that you've already put out there. So, it's like how it seems like Archer, from what I am reading and just kind of my inner feelings, it seems like the partnership is important. But again, they were able to get the $2 billion. So I'm wondering if something with Stellantis, where they're working something where maybe they don't have to offer the shares and really give Stellantis more control of the company to be a part of the partnership. So maybe if they're just trying to kind of thin out what the actual deal will be, if that allows Archer to kind of maintain a little bit more control of the company, and maybe if there's been anything in the last 3 to 6 months that's maybe just kind of shown them that they do need Stellantis as the manufacturing partner, but just kind of in what capacity in the board do they want them in, and how would they really want to bring them into the fold and continue that collaboration going. So I think right now it's labeled as a collaboration as opposed to the true partnership. But yeah, it's kind of been interesting to think about where that can go, where it kind of has to go, and if it was diverted from, what would have to happen to keep Archer in the skies.
Yeah, I think that if that partnership were to fall apart, there would be other suitors for Archer, and I think that Archer has enough financial backing at this point that they can go and ramp up their manufacturing capabilities. It may even be better for them, because they could almost be a little bit more vertically integrated, and a little bit more cost on the upfront, but then you are reducing risk with supply chain on the back end. So, and they already came out. I think they did come out and say that they are that GKN is going to be producing their wings.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that's a major composite structure. So they have other partnerships. Again, I think really the backing of both of these large automotive companies is, especially with Toyota, is the quality control and just setting up a very, very streamlined and efficient manufacturing facility so that you can scale. And I'm sure that was a big part of Stellantis's involvement as well.
So with the inner workings and knowledge, like you're saying, Mark, can the Palantir partnership, like if they're able to run the data through the California manufacturing facility and kind of get the data on how we can ramp this up using the Palantir ontology?
See, that's just
kind of
yeah.
Does that work or no?
Exactly, yeah. And I'm sure they are using that already. I wouldn't be.
Yeah.
I bet you both of
Okay.
these companies are implementing AI
Sure.
to streamline their manufacturing. So it's interesting if you watch these videos of the Joby tour where the guy goes into the plant. When I worked at Honda Jet, we were all issued white jackets, and you wear a white jacket on the manufacturing floor, and that is a Kaizen. That wearing a white jacket is born out of the theory of Kaizen manufacturing, where if that jacket gets dirt on it, then the process, if you get grease on it or your jacket gets messed up, you now have an opportunity for improvement.
Wow.
So, and that's why they all wear white jackets, and that's very much a Japanese manufacturing. You see that in
cool.
Japanese companies. So,
I had no idea.
So
that's
my
cool,
white jacket my white jacket was filthy when I handed it back in. It was they were like get rid of this guy. He's not efficient at all.
Jacket. Give him a new jacket. Give this guy a new jacket.
So,
that's cool, Mark. That's another thing we'd never know. But yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's a really cool piece.
Guys, do smash the like button if you like this eVTOL fan club project. It's the only way we know whether people enjoy the streams or not. Do jump into and hit the like button there. But Scott says, when I started investing in Joby, I found the Toyota influence to be a confidence builder. I'm not concerned with that much ownership.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Scott says getting Travis would be great. Do you know what? Travis is coming. I promise you that, guys. Good to have you back, Mixie Phil. Great point, Dylan. Try getting a defensive order from Trump administration when you need Toyota to sign off. That was the only thing that did worry me a little bit. Remember we found that document, Dylan?
Yeah.
That did say something about they can't sign off unless, or they can't use defensive aircraft under Toyota's name, or something like that. Or something along that line.
Yeah, along those lines. So yeah, it's kind of reading through the lines too in that. But again, I don't hold that against Joby. And again, when I say if we're playing 5-on-5 basketball, and if Joby got the first pick, they probably jumped at Toyota manufacturer. And if Archer had Toyota as the manufacturer and all that was sealed up, I don't think I would be complaining. And also don't know if it plays into it. But when they did the 85 million share dilution, so we're able to raise the 850 million capital, that's money that you were kind of maybe hoping that Stellantis was going to bring across the table for Archer. So again, I'm not the CEO, and whatever goes on behind those rooms, I don't know the exact conversations, but maybe if you're able to sustain that market cap as you do dump 85 million shares onto the market, maybe it just lets you think a little bit more on what the strategic partnership that you want to go forward with as well. And then I'm gonna throw a flight question to Mark whenever you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. So I was looking, and it was interesting. I came home, I think it was Thursday, so July 24th. I came home and I was trying to deep dive the lawsuit, right? And so I usually keep a tab open for the flight radar and the piloted flights. I'm only bringing this up now because I don't think we had announced it on the channel per se. And And I know that I'm sure Joby, sorry, I don't check the tail numbers, so I'm sure that Joby is definitely doing piloted flights. So I can always check those for you guys as well. But to Archer, they did have the seventh piloted flight. I'm calling it piloted because it was tracked on the FlightAware, and all the data was tracked. And they're continuing to go a little bit further out. So this one was a 41-mile flight, total 20-minute total time. So that's almost, so they're usually traveling about 25 to 26 miles, excuse me, on the past flights. And there was about a month delay before there was any more flights. So it kind of got stale. It's like kind of refreshing that screen every day. And so just kind of the general flight pattern. So from me, the unknown, it's like the flight patterns seem to kind of expand out from SNS. The initial first 2 and 3 flights were close by SNS with some circles that they were doing. So my thought is maybe safety, you want to keep it closer to the airport. If something's going wrong, you call it back. So just again, I know that these are test flights and we're still looking for the CTOL versus VTOL, but it does look like the that they are flying more miles, and it's interesting to see the flight patterns as the the fifth flight was like a pretty much straight kind of Coke bottle-ish look pattern to it, or that one had like a racetrack loop, and then this one did a few circles. It's kind of like it went out from SNS, looped, came around, crossed where it already flew through, came in, another loop, and then traveled back to SNS. So it's just interesting to see them kind of expand the range as they test the aircraft.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, getting further and further away from home is a good sign. Okay. Whatever their flight pattern is, when these aircraft are going through testing, the flight patterns are very benign because they're doing envelope expansion. They're doing envelope expansion, which is in handling and just handling qualities. They could be testing out the avionics suite. They're doing a whole myriad of different tests. So when you see that in the flight pattern, it's like, well, okay, they're just kind of squiggling all over the place.
Right.
It's just because, they're just testing the different systems on the aircraft, and those. What's interesting is, on the other side of the wall, on Archer's side of the wall and Joby's side of the wall, in the flight test department, those are very, very defined test points that they're hitting. They have test cards before every flight. Like when you see all these engineers in a room, each one of those engineers is sitting at a station watching their respective of systems. So you may have a power plant engineer, you may have an ECS and cooling engineer. You may have flight dynamics engineers, structural, and also just all sorts of different disciplines. And they are all saying, well, we want to get test data on this flight. So then they would come in and oversee it, live data, but they're also recording it on the aircraft as well. And so what we see is just this benign squiggly lines. They're just kind of going all over the place. But believe me, they are getting a lot of information.
That's cool. Thanks for both sides of that one. That's very cool. Thank you.
And then Scott Williams says, question from Mark, can TIASA be expedited by using more than one aircraft at a time?
Yes, it certainly can. And in most test programs, you do have that. I would expect that Joby and Archer will use probably 2 or 3 different aircraft so that you can be doing multiple tests almost simultaneously with your different aircraft. And you see that on most test programs that I've worked on, they have 3 or 4. Typically, you have it seems like you would have 3 to do your different tests. And then like the 4th test, since a lot of my stuff has been with in civil aviation lately, it was the interior. Like the 4th airplane was what the customer would see. And they're doing like sound testing and comfort control and just all these other things. But yes, to answer that question, it would behoove these companies to be using multiple aircraft in their test program. And that's a good point too, because all of those aircraft are T-seat aircraft, or they're conforming aircraft. so that they are all almost exactly the same.
And then, guys, I have a big announcement to make. So we are going into earnings season for both Archer and Joby. We have Joby's on August 6th. We have Archer's on August 11th. Now, I will be going live from 3:30 Eastern time. So while market is open, coming into the last half an hour, as the boys start finishing work, you'll probably start trickling in. And yeah, we will be live throughout the earnings, before the earnings, throughout the earnings, and then we'll do a summary after the earnings. This is, I've said it, myself and Reece have said it, this is the biggest 4 events of the year for us. We normally have up on 2,000-3,000 people in the stream. Guys, make sure to bang the subscribe button to make sure you are there for both the Archer and Joby stream. But without further ado, my name is Liam. I am one of the Hustle Brothers here. I'm here with my good friend, Mark Berry. I'm here with my good friend, Dylan Rogers. Guys, this has been great. We may see Mark take a visit down to Covington, Georgia. Guys, if you want that to happen, do jump into the comments after the video and let us know. Guys, any closing thoughts for us?
Yeah, I've got a picture. I've got a background picture I want to share with everyone. So give me 1 second to get it up, if I can get it.
Yeah. And when Mark gets it, I
Go
think
ahead.
my closing thoughts are just going to be, I hope everybody just has really the best week moving forward. Markets are closed today. They'll open tomorrow. Some stocks are going to go green. Some stocks are going to go red. But, just stay happy, stay healthy, enjoy the start to your week. If you got family, stay close to them, and maybe text somebody that you haven't talked to in a while. So I'm just going to close with that.
All right, there's the background.
That looks wild.
That was back in 2016 in my glass air. The police were out at the airport taking pictures of their new cruisers, and I said, "Hey, you guys want to fly by?" So I'm obviously quite a ways behind them, but their cameraman snapped a photo. So,
and did they ask you to fly like that to come in for a close approach? No.
Well, I told them I was going to give them a good shot. So
work it in. That's right. I like
got
it.
a good shot. So
that's awesome. That is
I got a couple of others, so I'll share them on the next stream.
That's
Real
right.
quick.
Stay
I think Megapix asked me a quick question about my Joby shares and when I'll get back in. I would love to. I was waiting for it. I said in the last podcast I was waiting for the dip, and I think I may not have that opportunity. So I think I may be getting back in quite soon, and just hold long.
And then Mixie says, big news come for Archer. There's a reason why the call is on a Monday. Never underestimate Adam. I did find it quite strange that they've more or less separated from Joby. 2 of them are normally back to back. It could be a big earnings call for both companies. It's going to swing them one way or another. I'm really excited about this stream.
Yeah. That's definitely curious. I want to try to not, my gut wants to be like, oh, there's a bad reason why it got pushed back, but the hopeful side of me is that either it's something's getting signed on a Thursday or Friday and they actually get to bring it to the earnings call. Again, that's just pipe dream hoping. Or for some reason it got moved to Monday and we hear the same earnings call we would have heard the day after. So
or they're going to do a full conversion with a pilot.
That would be beautiful.
Ooh.
They'll do a full conversion with a pilot and pretty much match what Joby's done so far as well.
That'd be awesome.
Guys, do jump into the comments after the video. Do let us know how you think Joby and Archer are getting on. Until Thursday, guys, we'll see you at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. Right, guys, thanks.